Welcome back to JC Performance. If this is your first time here, my name is Jack and I am doing my best to become Yorkshire's answer to Forrest Gump. And I'm going to explain why I'm stood in front of this board in a second here and why there's a little picture there and something very important written at the end of that board for next May. However, what I thought I'd do in this video is take you through what a week of training looks like at the moment in the build up to the trail marathon, a 94k winter ultra, and then some very big exciting races next year. So let's get into it. But first, I've got to get the dogs back in. Little man, it's like the SAS of Labradors. He just does what he's told really well and then gets the job done. This lad, Arthur, come on. Literally does what he wants. Do you want a carrot? Do you want a carrot? Bribery every single time. Ridiculous creature. Thanks, mate. To it then. So, the board. Why have we got a board full of stuff behind me? Well, this is me mapping out from now until next May everything I need to do to get towards where I want to be. And the t-shirt is going to kind of give this away. So I raced Red On Backyard Ultra in May this year and I didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to. I got over 100 miles, I got 116 miles, but that wasn't the goal. It kind of just gets rolled forwards into next year with an even bigger goal. And maybe I'm being a bit too ambitious with this. Maybe I'm setting a really lofty goal here and some people are going to tell me that's silly. You need to alter your expectations. Who do you think you are aiming for something like this? But I want to get a GB qualifying distance for the Backyard Ultra team. Now, whether that will happen or not really comes down to how well I race on the day, how well I prepare over the next 10 months, and essentially if it's in the tank when I go back to Cheltenham next year. But I'm going to be documenting everything along the way and show you how I'm planning on getting there. And really, at the end of the day, this is all a process. Even if it doesn't happen next time, the goal is still there. The goal is still to get that done at some point. Every single race I'm doing between now and then all builds up to being able to do that and sustain that effort for enough time. So I'm going to walk you through the board. We have 42 weeks until I go back to Cheltenham. Now, I've already got my crew in place, which sounds mad, but I know one of the guys who did it this year isn't able to do it next year. So I've got one of my best mates and my younger brother coming down to do that. There may well be more additions, but we've got to figure out like crew swapping in and out because there's only 2 crew allowed in. Anyway, that's for later on down the line. So I have the Hampstead Half Marathon in September, the Kielder Marathon in October, both of which are races which I'm using to build up to a big race to finish the year. This is one of my A races, the Cheviot Goat. So that is a 94 kilometer winter ultra. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because there is also I was going to call it side quest there. This is definitely not the sort of race you can call a side quest. It's definitely a main quest. I want to do the Spine at some point, and I think the only time I'm going to be able to get to do it is winter 28. So I need to get enough experience of what those sort of conditions are like and make sure that I've just got a bit more up-to-date experience. I lived on a mountain for a year when I was a ski instructor. I've handled myself in very, very cold conditions in some quite worrying situations while I've been living and working on mountains. However, I need to just make sure I get out in the field and get some more recent experience with that, especially when you're trail running. The Cheviot Goat is a 94k ultra run by Cold Brew Events. Amazing events company in the Northeast. I've run a few of their events. I podiumed at the Pilgrim last September. And my plan initially was to go back and do the 100 miler in September. But when I started thinking about it, I just needed a bit more time to recover from my backyard ultras. I'd done 2 of them back to back relatively close. Really, that one was just a bit more appealing. However, next year, I might go back and do the 100 miler. I think I probably will, to be honest. And that's going to cap off the year for me going into the backyard ultra prep, which this time round, I've given 6 months entirely dedicated to that. So the first part of this, all building up to the Cheviot Goat, is really about mountain racing and trail running. The second part of this is all about getting backyard ultra fit and building that sort of mental and physical fatigue resistance that I'm going to need. So come along for the ride. Make sure you're subscribed. Give this video a like. Drop a comment below saying if you think I'm going to be able to do it all or not, as well as anything you'd like to see along the way. And let's get into what a week of training looks like. So first session I've already done this week, which was full body. The key to actually building a big, strong set of glutes is direct eye contact while you're doing a hip thrust. That is the most important thing. But really good session because even though the knee sometimes flares up, strength-wise, it is all feeling really good right now. And I always tend to get these sessions done before morning work at the gym, which is great because it just means I can get showered and get sorted out, and then to get home for nursery duty. Right, nursery run done. Morning full of programming and catching up with clients, making sure everything is organised for blocks going to some exciting competitions. Refueled from the morning. What a rotter of a session that was, my God. I always kind of look forward to how bad I get by those kind of like threshold FTP development sessions, but Jesus, that was a big one. And now, speaking of big uns, well, these two big dogs. We're off to get our lunchtime walk done before it's on some calls and out for the run I was supposed to do yesterday because my legs were battered after the weekend. So I managed low body training, but we have built in some flexibility into my program because we are still having to manage the odd little knee flare up, but it's fine. It's fine. Performance is improving. Nailed a sub 2.5 at the weekend, which is mad, right? That this is where you kind of have those moments in training that you realise your once PB is now like a training run for you. And that's not me. Well, I guess it is a bit of a sort of flex, but it's not meant to be. You're going to get this at any point, right? People who are, you know, like Tom Evans level are going to be like, oh, you know, just casually ran a 4.5 hour 50k, where, you know, they're UTMB champions, so very different. So at every level you're going to get that, but it's really cool looking back on that and being like, okay, cool, I can just go knock that out as part of my training weekend. Right, we are ready to rock and roll. I've got this with 50 grams of carbs in, 500 milligrams of sodium. I have a precision chew as well, which is 50 grams. I was considering a new route, but I can't actually figure out how to get there. So we're going to run the same old route with the Novoblasts on. And it's looking like it could be absolutely sunny weather, or absolutely piss it down. So let's go find out, shall we? About 25 minutes in, holding a nice steady 5:40 pace. Very conversational, very nice. I've just seen a man down there with what I would only describe as an army of chihuahuas. There's like, maybe like 8 or 9 of them, a battalion of chihuahuas. Who has that many chihuahuas? That bloke, so anyway, keep it nice and steady. This feels great. Like my sort of pace now, having a bit of a moment of like, this is like over a minute faster than it was last year at this sort of heart rate, and you know, pretty comfortable that I could run at this all day. So very good signs into the months ahead, and let's just hope they don't catch up with me. Honestly, I don't think my running has ever felt this good, and well, perhaps unsurprisingly, given that between early April and mid-May, I think I covered nearly 700 kilometres. So volume's probably got something to do with that. But pacing feels awesome at the moment. Target of 4:45, first tempo intervals. Ran most of them around 4:20, 4:25. Feeling really comfortable, so I am chuffed with that. And I also trained upper earlier, but I didn't record that, so you just have to take my word for it with how massive I am. In all seriousness though, I still do train upper body, because having a wriggly, active 2-year-old that loves being chucked in the air is not compatible with being weak in my upper body. So I've got to make sure these shoulders stay strong for chucking her up in the air in the pool and playing aeroplanes and such, because it's a dad's job, isn't it? We are back in for another run, dodging trees all over the shop. That price bloody gun, partner. This gate barn run in. So actually just doing this one off feel, because you know, watch run out, didn't it? Poor admin Jack. However, we're out here getting it done with just ran out of deals too. Pocket full of Haribo. We just appreciate this. Like, I think outside of work, this park is probably the place that I've spent the most time in the last 5 years. It literally never gets old watching sunrise and sunset here. It is called the Rising Sun Country Park after all, so you'd expect it to be good, wouldn't you?
Anyway, I'm gonna get back to my Haribo, listening to 80s hair metal, and finish the last 20 minutes of this run.
I'll take 15 of these this morning. Very tired. Look at that. What you don't know is that's actually a regular size cup, which is massive. Oh, glorious. In for a diabolically early bike session, 4:15. So, I need to get this done before little one wakes up. It's about an hour and a half. Goddamn machine. So we're gonna go get on the bike and get started because I mean I don't particularly love being in here at 4:30 a.m. Sorry about the weird up the nose angle here. I'm carrying about 4 drinks to the bike, but we're gonna go get it done. Great run last night. 14.5k done. 42.9k clocked up so far this week, so we are moving. Back on my best friend this morning. One thing that I do massively take advantage of is the fact that because I'm a bit of a heavier runner, one of the thick boys, thanks to a history of powerlifting and bodybuilding, the bike is a really good way for me to cock up more miles. So whilst person A, who is not of my same stature, might be able to rock up at 100k at this point, I'll do this week 3 bike sessions, 1 really hard, 1 easy to moderate, 1 very easy, alongside my runs. And slowly as we go through the prep, that'll get more towards running as we get closer to events. Which means I can manage my volume really well over time and make sure those don't take too much of a battering. But I'm going to crack on with this now. So I've got 15 minutes easy warm-up, and then it's 25 minutes at 220 watts, 15 at 250, 15 at 220, 15 at 260 or 270, something like that. So some sustained harder efforts amidst all of that. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy these sessions. Off I go.
Here I am. Legs? Yes, it is legs, because it was full body at the start of the week. Did aerobic on the bike this morning. Feeling pretty bad, but we're closing in on already done 8.5 hours of training this week, and I've still got this session, tomorrow morning's bike, and a long run on Sunday. So I think we're going to be wrapping up probably around a 13-hour week or so, which at this point in prep, I feel like is a really, really good spot to be in, because my weekly mileage is going to be getting around probably between 65 and 70k this week. I don't think it's going to be long until we're hitting 100k weeks, that we'll be doing that before the end of the year for sure. And that's really the goal going into next year. And I think the thing that I was maybe missing with having to take a bit of time out of running from October to like January, and then had a 3-month prep into a backyard ultra, so it's not the most ideal. I really want to be clocking up anywhere between 100, maybe 100k and 100 mile weeks really for as long as possible going into the next ultra, and just have so much more time on my feet, into the next backyard next year, because I think that's one of the things that's going to make the difference. Feeling really well, feeling really good in training. I think just because our daughter's been ill this week, like sleep has been a bit disrupted. There's been a few nights where I've been awake a little bit longer than I normally am, so I'm a bit tired, but must keep cracking on.
Back with another tiny cup. I'll literally just use these for the novelty of having the smallest coffee in the world. Glorious.
And we were into session number 2 for lower strength. So big focus here is making sure we're trying to get as much force as possible through that barbell with the big lifts, and plenty of single leg work in here. Just trying to work through as much range as possible, really kind of building that robustness around key joints and making sure we're moving nice and solid going into the rest of this block.
Back on the bike, flushing the legs through this morning. I feel toast. And it's pretty good for a week where we'll be clocking up maybe 13 hours of training, to have one of them feel hard. But really, The goal is to just get them turning over, get a bit of a sweat on, and then I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my day, because we are actually going down to York today, because I'm going to drive some supercars. My wonderful wife got me a track day for my birthday, so crowbarring a bit of that after this clip, and then I'm off to go watch a couple of clients run a timed loop event. If I hadn't have had the track day, I'd have been running the 24-hour event right now, because Matty, one of my clients, is doing that in the build-up to the Pilgrim, which is one of my favourite races in the northeast, which again, I'm not doing, but I'm going to be crewing some people there. Adam is doing the 4-hour right at the end, and then we've got Ash doing the 12-hour. So it's going to be a really good day for it. The weather's been flicking between hot and raining, which I think is going to be good for all the runners. And yeah, I'm excited to see them all later. But first, get this finished. That is me, done with that flush out session, and glorious. Sunrise on the go. One of the best things about training here first thing in the morning is the fact that you just get this wicked sunrise, well, through summer anyway. Sometimes through winter, you get this wicked sunrise through those windows. You just get this amazing view all the way along the gym. Lovely. So that's that done. Hour finished. Now I'm going to go home and eat and get ready to rip up some supercars. Let's go, mate. Keep going. Let's go, Ash.
5K every half an hour.
Yeah. Good man. Oh, big man. And here we are. The last, probably most unglamorous run of the week. Right by the roadside at the moment, but we're nearly 1 hour, or just 1 hour 30 in to this in 4 minutes, doing some hard efforts. So let's finish the week strong. Right. We're getting into the last hard effort now. Nearly done. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm like locked into an interval, everything feels fine. It's when you start jogging or walking that everything starts to hurt. My heart hurts when I run slow. How bizarre. Anyway, let's get into it. Off we go. And that is that. Big training week. All wrapped up. 3 hours of bike. 3 hours of strength, 6 and a bit hours of running. So I think totals are all the kilograms. 110 kilometers on the bike or so, and then 65 or something on the feet. So solid week. So there we have it. That is what a full week of training looks like right now. There's not going to be too much change over the next 3 weeks or so, but we are steadily building in this marathon block now. And one thing that I will say is I underestimated how good, oh God, these were. But my God, I mean, I put the best part of probably 500 kilometers through my over blasts, and they're still pretty good. These are still going very strong because they haven't had nearly as much through them, but comfy as hell. I think aside from the big winter trail run I do at the end of the year, I'm going to be wearing them for everything because they're so good if you want to put some pace through them as well, but you can just keep going all day. But thank you for watching. Thank you for being here as part of the ride. It is great to have you along. And as I said earlier in the video, please, if you made it this far, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.